This is a horror movie from the mainland that dares not show real ghosts, yet it's a childhood nightmare for many. The red-dressed girl is a chilling name. Rumor has it that anyone caught by her will have their soul planted in the woods. The only way to escape is to summon a beloved person to take your place. The story begins with a missing person case. An old man named Lin Lishui got lost in the woods. His old friend, Shu Fong, looks at the missing person notice on the wall, worried. Shu Fong, who always worries about others, lives with her grandson, He Jiwei. That day, after sending off Wei, who was almost late for work, something strange happened. In the empty house, a familiar voice suddenly called her name. The old lady was sure it was her long-missing friend, Ashwee. She searched every corner of the house but found no trace of Ashwee. Puzzled, she looked at the unsteady door and suddenly fell. Enduring the pain, she sat up and saw a line of footprints scattered in front of her. Just as she wondered where the footprints came from, sharp claws suddenly pierced through the back of her head. Meanwhile, Wei, who had left for work, was unaware of everything happening at home. He worked at a real estate agency, dreaming of marrying his girlfriend, Shen Yijun, through hard work. However, as he strived to achieve his goal, misfortune targeted him. Wei didn't know what passed behind him. He worked until 10 p.m. and then had to pick up his girlfriend from work. Shen Yijun, a radio host, had just finished her broadcast. Before she could turn off the equipment, the studio door suddenly opened. As she went to check, a little girl, a colleague's daughter, told Shen Yijun she had just turned 3. Hearing the girl's age made Shen Yijun fall into deep thought, as if it touched a secret deep within him. At this moment, Wei came over. He took Shen Yijun to see the house he prepared for their marriage. The house was spacious and bright. When Shen Yijun learned Wei secretly mortgaged his grandmother's property for the down payment, she was furious. Although they had been in love for 5 years, Shen Yijun wasn't ready to commit to Wei. Wei's actions made her feel pressured into marriage, and she couldn't help but get angry. But to care for Wei's feelings, she accepted his invitation to dinner at his house. Grandma cooked a table full of dishes for them, but Wei didn't notice anything unusual about her. After speaking, Grandma left the house without looking back. At this moment, Shen Yijun asked a strange question, Wei. Who are you talking to, Grandma? The next morning, Wei realized Grandma hadn't returned all night. He hurried out to search and saw Lin Lishui downstairs. When Wei asked Lin Lishui if he had seen his grandma, Lin Lishui suddenly became panicked and kept apologizing to Wei. Lin Lishui's actions left Wei confused, but he still. Segment 1. Yet, he had to go to work as usual. While Wei was working hard, he received a package. Inside was Lin Lishui's camera. When he opened the stored video, he saw a very strange scene. A girl in red quietly following the crowd shocked Wei. It might be related to his grandmother's disappearance. After work, he arranged to meet security guard Uncle Kun to investigate Lin Lishui's house. They passed through the ajar door and found the house pitch black, not a soul in sight. Uncle Kun held up a flashlight to find the power switch, but just then, eerie sounds came from the speakers. Seeing Wei's astonished face, Uncle Kun trembled and said, "The power's off, but the speakers are playing." They suddenly realized it must be a ghost and ran without a second thought. But when they reached the door, they found it tightly shut. Just as Wei's heart was in his throat, the door inexplicably. Segment 2. Opened. Wei ran outside Lin Lishui's house, escaping the terror of the night and realizing something was seriously wrong. The next day, he went to Uncle Kun's office to check the surveillance. He discovered that the night he and Shen Yijun went home for dinner, his grandmother had left early in the morning, walking in a very strange manner. After careful examination, the three were shocked to find the old lady was being pulled away by a girl in red. Wei felt a tingle as neighbors gossiped about his grandmother being taken by a demon. Distressed, he fell into a deep sleep filled with thoughts and fears. In his dream, he felt his grandmother calling him to wake up as usual. When he awoke, childhood memories surfaced. He had promised his grandmother to always have meals with her, but as time passed, busy with work and wedding preparations, he often neglected her. Segment 3. The pain of losing his grandmother hit Wei hard. Just then, he heard her call. Following the voice, he searched for her in the hallway, finding dirt and footprints leading under the dining table. Bending down, he saw a message he wrote as a child, promising to have meals with her daily. Suddenly tapped, Wei looked around but found no one. When he turned back to the table, The struggle's pain and fear jolted him awake. As he got up in shock, he found his grandmother in the kitchen, making breakfast as usual. Wei hugged her tightly, tears streaming down. She reminded him to bring Shen Yijun for dinner that night. Evening came, and as Shen Yijun followed Wei inside, he felt something hidden on the cabinet. But when he turned to look, there was nothing. As he turned to the kitchen, the scene before him scared him out of his wits. Segment 4. He felt something was hidden on the cabinet, but when he turned to look, there was nothing. As he turned to the kitchen, the scene before him scared him out of his wits. Segment 1. Wei was seen eating dirt and bugs with big bites. This bizarre scene made Shen Yijun feel both disgusted and scared. He quickly ran to the security booth to find Uncle Kun, but when they rushed back home, they found the dining table empty, as if nothing had happened, yet Wei had mysteriously disappeared. Uncle Kun believed Wei's disappearance was due to the demon causing trouble, so he lit a string of firecrackers to ward off evil. After setting off the firecrackers, he took talisman paper and a charm to Wei's grandmother's house to perform a ritual, telling the demon to stop. As they cursed, a holy wind blew in through the window, making them behave. Meanwhile, Wei's grandmother was found by the police and taken to the hospital for emergency treatment. Shen Yijun rushed to visit her, but as soon as the old lady saw him. Segment 2. She became agitated immediately. I called Wei's name. I called Wei's name. The old lady regretted summoning her grandson Wei as a scapegoat for her own desires. Uncle Kun, unable to stand it, complained that it was all Lin Lishui's fault for bringing the demon to Mrs. He's house. Shen Yijun, curious about what kind of evil the demon was, researched and found that the demon looked like a human, usually wearing red to confuse people. The only way to break the demon's spell was with a loud noise to wake the bewitched. Perhaps unable to stand Uncle Kun's repeated provocations, the demon climbed onto the security booth at midnight, scaring Uncle Kun into shouting for help. He tried to use firecrackers to ward off evil, but his trembling hands were too slow. The next day, when Shen Yijun went to the hospital to care for his grandmother, the doctor told him something incredible. They found in the old lady's vomit. Segment 3. A living goose pupa. It turned out to be from a rare red-winged ghost-faced swan. The doctor didn't know why it ended up in the old lady's stomach, but Shen Yijun found that the ghost face on the swan's back resembled the red-winged girl. Shen Yijun didn't understand what this meant. That night, he had a dream where his arm was covered in blood, and the bed was stained red. Just then, the red-winged girl descended from the sky. Shen Yijun woke up from the nightmare, seemingly discovering the root of the problem, and covered his face in despair. Soon after, Wei's grandmother was discharged. Shen Yijun took her home. The old lady took out shoes Wei wore as a child and cried hoarsely. Wei must have loved you so much that he didn't call your name. Shen Yijun's feelings for Wei were equally sincere. Before finishing work each day, he prayed for listeners to inform him about Wei's. Segment 4, News. Before leaving work, Shen Yijun got a tip from a kind netizen that the ghost-faced swan was seen at Wanlong Pit. After hanging up, he got a notification from the police that Wei's grandmother had gone missing again. Uncle Kun said she went up the mountain to look for Wei. After that night, Uncle Kun became superstitious and could no longer help Shen Yijun. Seeing Wei's photo on the bedside, Shen Yijun wept. Perhaps if he had agreed to the marriage earlier, so many accidents wouldn't have happened. Then he followed the rescue team into the mountains. In a barren reed field, Shen Yijun discovered Wei's grandmother, who had multiple fractures throughout her body. The rescue team quickly got a stretcher to move her to safety. They also discovered Wei's childhood shoes next to the old lady. Shen Yijun was sure Wei was in the mountain. After the smoke cleared, the rescue team informed her. A story. There's a legend that every tree has a soul. When you cut down a tree that shouldn't be cut, the mountain will take a person and plant their soul on the mountain. Shen Yijun listened, and asked how to plant a soul on the mountain. The rescue team said they didn't know, but he would soon find out the answer. The next day, they entered the core area of the mountain. At this time, the rescue team split into 3 groups, searching in different directions for Wei's traces. As night was about to fall, the exhausted and sleepy Shen Yijun vaguely saw Wei's figure. He quickly chased after it, resulting in him getting separated from the rescue team. Shen Yijun got lost in the forest. Soon, it became dark, and he felt a push from behind. Terrified, he lit a flare and saw a giant red-winged ghost-faced swan clinging to the tree trunk behind him. The ghost-faced swan spread its wings, releasing countless small flying swans, scaring Shen Yijun into running for cover. After running into a thicket, he saw many people and trees growing together. The strange phenomenon made Shen Yijun's stomach cramp. When he looked down, he saw a lively figure inside his belly. Shen Yijun was in so much pain that he rolled on the ground. After a heart-wrenching scream, a living child stood in front of him, saying, "Mom, why did you abandon me, Mom? Why? Did you want to get rid of me?" Looking at the child, who seemed about 3 years old, Shen Yijun shed tears of guilt. He kept saying, "I'm sorry," while holding the injured child. Suddenly, the scene shifted. Shen Yijun awoke in a cozy bridal chamber. At this moment, he in a way had been married for a long time, living a sweet life. However, a moment later, Shen Yijun sensed something was wrong. Nana is in the nursing home. She has been there for 2 years. Shen Yijun suddenly realized this was an illusion created by the demon. He took a flare from his pocket, lit it, and scared away a demon. After exiting the illusion, Shen Yijun found a way trapped in a tree. He used all his strength to cut the vines and rescue his beloved. But in the next second, a way was taken away again by a girl in red. The girl then transformed, revealing a more ferocious appearance, and approached Shen Yijun step by step. At this moment, memories of being with a way flashed in his mind. The once suffocating love awakened the power within him. Shen Yijun gritted his teeth, lit the last flare, and pressed it against the demon's face, causing it immense pain. Just as the demon raised its bone spurs to retaliate, a flare lit up the sky. The frightened demon instantly turned into moths, hiding in the forest. Shen Yijun and Awei were saved, and they cried tears of joy. Soon after, the two returned to life and formed a new family with Grandma. Even more surprising, Shen Yijun was pregnant. However, during a prenatal checkup, the screen showed the image of a ghost-faced swan. This movie seems to tell a horror story combining folklore and taboo, but in reality, it reveals how young people are exploited by money. Some people abandon their childhood promises and neglect family for the life they yearn for, or choose abortion under pressure, creating sin. They seem to strive for their dreams but are actually pushing themselves into a dark abyss. The seeds of the demon are quietly planted at this moment. That's today's story. I'm Shang Zhang, see you next time.